Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today we're going to be joined by SteveR82. Steve's going to be talking to us about some amazing content that I saw him do the other day on his channel. This is him, SteveR82, Play to Earn. You can check him out at SteveR82 underscore Splinterlands on YouTube. And he did this great video. I left a comment on this one, SPS Flywheel Degen review, 2050 100x, maybe more. And I think, Steve, this was... I told you this before we went live, but I really legitimately was blown away by some of the things you talked about in this one. I want to give you a minute to introduce yourself, and I want to talk more about this. I want to talk about this idea of the DEC that's going to be locked up in liquidity pools, the DEC that, like, where we see after LAM 1.5 and forward, what we see happening with locked up DEC and DEC burning with all the new guild buildings we're hearing about. It feels like we're going to get the flywheel and in a big way. But then you mentioned liquidity pools and 50 different assets. So we got a ton of things to talk about. But man, I think this is very exciting stuff. So Steve, tell the guys a little bit about yourself before we get into it.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm really glad to be here. I'm, kind of a friend of this guy right here. We met at Splinterfest, had a great time. I'm a longtime player of this game. I've been around since a month after I got into it. And Splinterlands is probably my best crypto story. It's why I started making content about it, because it's a game that I saw a bright future in. It's a game I still see a bright future in. And one of the things that I think people forget about is the game is still kind of in beta when you come to the idea that Matt really has and the vision that he created in his mind. And some people don't understand Terra Luna. They didn't get to see Titan Finance, which I saw on Polygon. They don't understand the flywheel idea and what it does to coins, or maybe they don't believe those really work, but they do work. The problem with those other two projects is they had flaws because you could go backwards on the flywheel, and because they use some really didn't have anything backing the idea of their stable coins. Whereas in the Splinterlands ecosystem, DEC is product backed within the game. It will have a floor that is unlike anything else that has ever happened in this whole flywheel idea. And that's why my video really focused on the idea that you don't have to be a player from this game to capitalize on the financial opportunity of DEC, SPS, and specifically DEC staking on both the Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain. And it's something I want to start to talk about because one of the other reasons I've become a little bit more popular on Twitter. I went from 1,000 subs to 2,000 subs recently, our followers, and those people are more active on the Ethereum chain. They're not so much on Hive, and I wanted to be able to put out some content showing them. And I did put the video up on my Twitter, and it got like 350 views over there.
Wow.
So it's not too bad considering it's not really a video platform. So the idea is to be able to tell someone, look, if DEC is stable, you can put money into stablecoin pools. One right now is paying 15%, one's paying 13%, depending on if you like DAI or BUSD. And you don't need to play the game. You can just collect your rewards, and you can, hopefully, if you want to dig in more, you stake those rewards. Because that's kind of what some people were doing to compound on their earnings inside the Terra ecosystem. They were willing to do some crazy things there with that Deegan box I mentioned. Because Terra had a whole thing where you could mint $1,000 of their coin, stake it for 20%, borrow 50% out, 500, restake it to get to $1,500 stake, borrow 50% of that 500 you deposited and deposit in another 250. So like $1,000 could let you deposit 1,750 into a 20% staking pool, and somehow you still made 20% on every dollar you put in, and that was unsustainable. They couldn't keep that going forward. But the Splinterlands ecosystem isn't that crazy, but it has some elements of it, and this is what's got me so, if the flywheel can go, it's where I see, if you want to think about some crazy things, Terra Luna went from like sub penny to over $100 because of their flywheel. Now, the tokenomics are not exactly the same for us to go up into those kind of crazy realms, but and there's a little too much SPS in the world, I think. But definitely $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 is a doable number if it's not just us that are driving this anymore, but it's outside investment capital.
Yeah. Yeah, I firmly agree, especially since, like, man, I almost wish I could do the math quickly to see, like, if you imagined, and maybe this is doable, but I probably wouldn't do it right here. It might really slow down the conversation. But if you just even imagine, okay, before we went live, I've heard Bulldog talk about maybe 15% of the land plots will get activated. And I've heard other up to maybe, he says up to maybe 50%, 50, if once we actually put the, what's that called, the squatting or whatever it's called, where you can like come use my land that I'm not currently using, the whatever that technique is called.
Land surfing.
Land surfing. So that land surfing is really cool. I was blown away too when I saw, to digress just for a moment, I was blown away when I heard Hardpoint talking about that with the People's Guild. The idea that our land can be utilized, let's say because I am maybe AFK, I died, I'm no longer attending to my ownership of assets in Splinterlands. Someone can come along and farm that land, and that means they need to lock up DEC into that as well as cards. I think that does move the needle in terms of how many plots of land will be activated and therefore how many DEC will be staked. And like we said before we went live, and to those who are maybe newer to this space or maybe don't pay attention to land, you might not know the DEC that gets put into the land isn't burned, but it is locked up in a meaningful way where, yes, it can be unstaked and I guess put back, made into a liquid form. But the point is that while it's tied up in the land, it's no longer available to be spent on in-game assets, to be used to buy packs, to be used to buy cards, to be put into liquidity pools, to be spent on guild buildings, etc. And it's like the more avenues or outlets that we create that are going to drive that sort of that tension where you no longer have, you can't double spend a DEC. It's either in a liquidity pool or it's, being burnt for a guild building, or it's being it's got one use, not 20. And you've got, that's like the opportunity cost. If you tie it up in land, you can't spend it elsewhere. But man, I think we're seeing land is one of them. Surfing is another. New guild buildings coming. You talk about 50 liquidity pools that come out of this, out of the asset creation that comes from land, and then the liquidity pools that them all being tied back to DEC, which I always knew. I remember that being, I think Matt said that in a town hall like months ago, but it just flew over my head until I watched your video the other day. And I just, something about how you framed it just brought it together for me to recognize how big this is, where, like I say, it's not just the staking into the land and the guild buildings and all those others I just mentioned, but it's also this 50 different liquidity pools that are going to garner a certain profitability. And you just referred to, and I want to throw a question back to you that might be a critic, let's answer. I suspect people are going to hear this, and some people are going to say, they don't trust things like liquidity pools. They don't trust stable coins. They, Luna, Terra Luna, like these things have a bad taste in people's mouths. And they hear like the percentage opportunities. They think, Ponzi, they think scam. And I think just quickly, I feel there are probably three differences that Splinterlands offers that those didn't. And I think I've heard you say them. But I would love to hear your comments on this. If you feel I'm missing anything, if you want to add or expand on these, but I'm thinking we have a solid, although small, committed audience, which is an interesting component about our ecosystem. We have product-backed stablecoin, like DEC is theoretically entrenched or supported at its level and eventually at that future peg level, not just because of Flywheel and the spending and the limited creation of DEC, but because of the product backed element. And then lastly, you mentioned we can't reverse, I don't know what you call it, like reverse minting, like we can turn SPS into DEC, but not DEC into SPS. Those are the three things I'm seeing that make this different than some of those things that people are going to say were a scam and like they're going to distrust Splinterlands because they distrust that. Do you feel should you add anything more there? Is there something more you want to expand on? What do you think about, what would you say to someone who says like, I'm never going to touch Splinterlands in DEC because I saw what happened with Terra Luna, etc.?
Yeah, the big difference you have to tell those people and convince them of, and this is going to take time, is that Terra Luna was only basically a coin and a stable coin and a way to earn return on that stable coin by staking it. And of course, without a way for them to make money, there was no way for
Mm-hmm.
them to keep paying 20%. This is the same problem with the Celsiuses of the world, the Voyagers of the world that all collapsed and it messed up and they went too crazy and went too deegan because they were not a company that could turn a profit.
Mm.
Splinterlands is a company. They've been around for 5 years. They've sold millions of packs of their cards. They'll continue to sell hundreds of thousands to millions of packs of their cards in the near future. And that is what supports the DEC peg. I would say that you can look at history and the DEC coin. You have to understand that it's not a peg coin, but it's about a 65 cents minimum, is the bottom floor of that coin before it becomes arbitraged into packs, as long as there are packs for sale.
Yep.
This is the one issue with going into the world of no packs for sale. That is a little bit dangerous at this current time, but that's because the game isn't fully complete. The new guild buildings aren't there. Land is not really there, and land is a very interesting beast. You said only 10% of land is going to go live. You know what that's going to mean? That's going to mean that the people who are playing are going to get an SPS boost of like 100% because only 10% of people have deployed. So I'm not going to be earning 300 SPS a day. I'm going to be earning 3,000 SPS a day.
Oof.
And so then when I start sharing that, other people are going to go, crap, I got to activate my land. And so then that's where the rush in the buying of DEC to go into land comes from. It's because every time anything is underutilized in this game, it ups the rewards for the people who are utilizing it.
Yes.
That's the same key to why staked SPS is working. Because, think about it. Staked SPS all by itself, just turning that on, even though a ton of people freaked out, what has happened to SPS? It's gone up in price. We don't have the flywheel in place, and we're still on like a 35% run on this coin. And that's pretty dramatic. And it's because all of a sudden everybody realized, the rewards are going to get better if I have SPS. I've already seen it in my rewards when I play the game. My rewards are better now. Now, what's going to happen once, it doesn't have to go that far before things start going a little bit wild. Because if SPS just gets to like 10 or 20 cents, then me and you are opening chest and champion that are giving us 4 or 5 SPS on the low end. And that's 50 to 60 cents or $1 if it's at a quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wild rewards, and that starts driving in the play to earn crowds who will figure out that there's an SPS rental market, that there are ways for them to come in and earn this money with small example, investment. That Nifty is still out there renting out decks for people, allowing them to scholar and play the game. And all of that is not super active because people aren't out there going, oh my God, I just played Splinterlands for a day and I made $30. I made $40. That's the big number you have to say, because while that doesn't change my life or your life, it changes the life of a certain percentage of the world that gets into these crypto things. And then they're going to come and they're going to want to play this game, and they're going to have to get SPS. And the thing is, we all are going to have to get SPS. But then when the flywheel finally starts, and land is the really key to that, because land's going to start, we're going to pour DEC into land. It's never going to come out of there, because just about when you think you might want to stop playing the land game, land 2.0 is going to come out. And then land 3.0 is going to come out. And I don't know if you saw the video I did with Baby Omega last Monday, but we had Nate join us. So Nate joined us, and he's talking land. And he's talking about the fact that land is going to be more than anything anybody here is even envisioning right now. You're talking about literally like special events happening within your region that you and the people in your region are going to have to go fight, like a boss that shows up in there, a raiding thing that comes into your land. They're talking about cross-pollination with, if you play tower defense, you can actually put some of your towers into your keeps and into your castles to be ready for these things that are in the future.
Wow.
You're scratching the surface with land 1.5. So that DEC is going to go there, and it's almost never going to come out unless somebody is actually just, wow, I've become a millionaire, I'm going to leave the game now. And they decide to go and leave. But then at that point, everything is so successful that there's probably somebody else here ready to snatch those things up. The only real question was, could they get here? And I think with SPS staking, I think with the Ripple lawsuit ending, at least right now, in a good way, opening up, right now in America, and this is relatively big news, no token that was distributed without an ICO as a security anymore.
Mm-hmm.
None of them. So SPS, not a security.
Yep.
DEC, not a security.
Yep.
This protects them to possibly go out and actually get a token listed on a Coinbase or a Kraken or a, somewhere like that, because now they're not going to worry, those companies, unless that lawsuit gets overturned.
Yes.
In some kind of way, their coin is protected, and these are major wins for them.
Totally. And I was
in general.
And I was listening to add one thought there. I was listening to Jeremy Hogan. Jeremy Hogan, I think that's who it is. Yeah, he's like a lawyer that was covering XRP and the Ripple, and this is like what he does. But he spent the last 2 years or whatever just covering it in depth. And he posted a video this yesterday or the day before talking about how it will take the portion of the decision that essentially said XRP trading over the counter not over the counter, like between individuals on an exchange, that is not a security, is done. That's just done. And then he said the part about how, if there's going to be any sort of what's the word, like pushback or challenge, where they try and re-adjudicate a case. I forget what word that's called, but that would take at least until like probably 2025, late 2024. So that means that there's, for all intents and purposes, there's crystal clarity with respect to these tokens, as best as there can possibly be. And so that's why you saw Coinbase step up despite Coinbase being sued right now, and they're like, XRP back on, like same day. Because to all those in the know, this is a massive point of, and there are some, I think, salty people who are like, no, it's not that clear. Yes, it is that clear for now. And yeah, of course there could be another lawsuit in the future that changes something, but at least for the foreseeable future, this is massive, and the market has shown that with massive spikes in XRP, as well as like maybe to some extent the SPS price pump is related too. But I think this is more just really the LAN 1.5 and the recognition and the staking. Actually, my bad, the staking, because it was at 1.6 cents and now we're at like 2.3, 2.4. That's a huge improvement. But you know what? We haven't even talked about, I wanted to circle back. We talked about the percentages available on some of these liquidity pools elsewhere. I'm not sure we were even recording at that point, but we talked for a good 15 minutes before we got going here, guys. So forgive me if we did get into that here, but just the idea that there are, with DAI and DEC, you were talking to me, Steve, about how there's like double-digit percentages on some of these pools. I don't mess around with these pools. Can you speak to that a little bit? And you also, if big money moved in, we would see the reduction of those payouts, right? The percentage returns would drop because more money is involved. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so if you go to the Splinterlands page, if you want to follow along, and you go to the SPS and you go to pools, you can see all the pools that we have, and you can see the percentages that they're paying out. And this page will look very familiar to people who get into yield farming. Yield farming is an entire
Steve, how do I pull it up, buddy?
area of crypto. So you go to the SPS page. So you got to click on your SPS image.
Yeah.
And then you'll see pools on the top. And it's next to proposals and licenses.
Gotcha.
And then, now we have the ones. These ones would require you to be really big believers in Splinterlands, and they do pay a lot better. But you have to hold SPS in BNB. You have to hold SPS in Wrapped ETH, and you can get in the 40s, 47%. Those are huge. Now, the one difference is those could change dramatically. The reason those are so high is because Splinterlands, the DAO, doesn't get rewarded for being in those. That's the proposal I told you about. That could hamper those as being a big selling point.
Gotcha.
But the ones that you would be able to pitch to outside investors are the DEC DAI and the DEC BUSD. That's because those are stable coins. In theory, it is a pegged stable coin, not algorithmic, but
yes.
DEC is not an algorithmic stable coin, but it is a product-backed stable coin within our ecosystem.
Yes.
And then DAI is actually USDC now.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that they converted from being an Ethereum backed stable coin to a USDC backed stable coin. And then DEC and BUSD. BUSD is kind of an interesting coin because they can't mint any more of them because of the lawsuit against Binance US. We'll see if that get cleared up now that this thing happened with Ripple is such a big deal, because if you have pending litigation against you for selling selling securities on a secondary market, well, you now have the library case and the Ripple case that proves that tokens sold on the secondary market are not security. So it does create a precedent. Some people say the Ripple one doesn't, but it does, because in the library settlement they agreed that secondary sales of the library token were not securities.
Yes.
Now another judge has said secondary sales of XRP are not a security. So everybody selling these coins as secondary market people could argue these cases should be dismissed. And so that would be the argument. There are 2 court cases where they've said that, they can try to say all these other coins are securities, but if they take them to court, they're going to lose, because look, we've already seen it happen in the courts. So but getting back to the pools, if you can, 15% on stable coins, those are the kind of numbers that made Celsius get millions of dollars, made people put millions and millions of dollars into the Terra Luna thing that was like 25%, you could say.
Yeah.
Right? Because, it had that Deegan box thing that they were all using. And then, Anchor and Celsius were paying anywhere from 7 to 10%. That was a little bit, more, of a non-DeFi centralized version. But all of those things were crazy bad. But the big thing about these DEC and DAI pools and DEC BUSD pools is that to earn this money, you only have to hold these LP tokens. So it's non-custodial, which means that a real, crypto head type person that likes to earn yield on their assets loves those kind of ways of earning. They want to be able to hold their own keys, like the saying goes. These are my LP tokens in my wallet, and all I have to do is log into Splinterlands, hit the claim button. The tokens you claim out of here are liquid. They don't go to staking. Withdraw them to your wallet, and your money is never inside this site for more than how often you claim it. That's the pitch to the investors out there in these chains. It's come stake DEC and BUSD, come stake DEC and DAI. Yes, you have a little bit of risk of impermanent loss if DEC starts to lose its peg, but you have those LP tokens in your own wallet. So you'll be in complete control to unpair those tokens and theoretically, sell out of the DEC position if you really had to.
Wow.
And that kind of freedom while earning a 15% return or 12% return, maybe that's not yet appealing enough. But that is with right now 2.4 cent SPS. If SPS went up to 5 cents, the 15% pool would now be at 40% on stable coins. The 12% would be up in the 30s. If we could double SPS again, because you're earning SPS. And so if the asset you're earning in these pools doubles, these APRs double. Now, again, as money comes into these pools, APR goes down. As SPS goes up, APR goes back up. This is the ingenious of this entire system. Everything is so tied together to that, land gets going, DEC starts getting bought, gets closer to peg, we get staking, we start burning SPS starts going up because arbitrage bots are just buying it and burning it to issue DEC when we push it over the peg. And all of that is happening, and it's pushing all of these pools up to crazy numbers. This is the big reason why I told you I don't think we should mess with turning on the DAO's rewards at this point, because if you want to get some major money from the outside of our ecosystem coming into this, imagine an SPS wrapped ETH pool with SPS at 5 cents that's paying 85%. If you put your money into that pool. You don't have to play the game. You just have to buy those coins, stake them into a Uniswap liquidity pool, and you're earning that money as long as you have a game account. And so there's a little bit of knowledge transfer there that they have to get an account. But let's put it this way. This one page of pools on Splinterlands, guys, there's been entire projects that this is all they did. They just had liquidity pools for different assets, and they paid out their token. They could never hold their token's value. And then when they go, well, why is SPS going to hold its value? You show them the SPS staking sheet, and you go, look, everyone who's playing this game doesn't have enough. We're all buying it. We're all
Yes.
pumping it right
Yes.
now. We all need to stake it. And the only big thing, the only big drawback in this entire system is that things could get too expensive. And then the one thing that could slow things down would be an adjustment to the staking protocols, lowering those numbers, because they did say they could lower those numbers, but it's going to be hard to do. And the reason it's going to be hard to do is because if you lower those numbers, like right now, I have 400,000 staked in Champion to 475,000 staked, right?
Yep.
So I'm earning like an 11x on my rewards.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still increasing that because, until I get to 1 million, I have a reason to keep increasing mine.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lowered that all of a sudden, you only need 300,000 in Champion now, or you only need 200,000 because SPS has gone up a lot. Then all of a sudden I become somebody that goes, wow, okay, maybe it's time to take some profit, and we could see SPS finally start to taper off at a time like that. But obviously that would be announced that they were doing it. It would be SPS unstaking is 4 weeks, right? You can't take it all out at once. So the system is designed to not let even an event like that totally wreck us, which is pretty amazing. And that might be that opportunity for the people who, even with the reduction, aren't there, or the people who've been watching us make incredible amounts of money for playing the game, because they'd only do that if SPS had gone up a considerable amount. I wonder how much they would have to go up, you think, before they think about adjusting it. Do you think at like a quarter they would need to do it?
See, that's an interesting conversation. And I saw somebody. I'm on my screen. I'm queuing up a battle where I recently won, and I'm gonna let it play in the background because I want to see how many SPS I won for that battle to partake in this conversation. But somebody said this to me recently in a comment, and I did like a brief video about it. And I think interestingly, if you think through, like, so what you're saying is, look, if SPS gets to a place where it's a crazy price, like SPS gets to 25 cents, it becomes logistically very challenging for a brand new player to come join the game anymore, and we start to build a barrier where whoever's here already enjoying the game continues to do so because they're getting crazy rewards, but any newcomers are suddenly perhaps like dissuaded or outright, denied access because of that cost. I heard somebody say that, and I feel like that's the tone of what I'm hearing from. That's the question you seem to be raising. But what I feel as though is if you remember that at the end of every battle, I'm just going to skip to the end of this battle here. I won 7.5 SPS. And if we say to ourselves that SPS is worth 25 cents in a scenario, and you think, well, you need, right now I have 200,000 SPS with which to reach this sort of reward. There's a few considerations. You talked earlier about how we can rent that SPS, and that cost is not particularly expensive. And then second of all, we have to, when we look at how much it costs to get into the game, we have to weigh that against the the opportunity that comes out of that expense. So if that was 7 times 25 cents, that's $2 for one win, almost $2 for one win, and I can win 10 or 15, maybe 20 matches a day. And then heck, I'm going to buy energy at that point too, aren't you? If you're getting 25-cent SPS, you're going to be buying all kinds of energy.
It gets ridiculous, man. Like if you're earning $2 per win, on top of that, you're earning chests that at the end of the day, you're going to open it up, are going to give you possibly, imagine opening up like a 70 SPS chest. That's not that uncommon.
No.
And it's a quarter. You're like, that was a 30,
Yeah.
And it gets even crazier if SPS goes any higher. And the thing is that the system is designed to just pump SPS, and it's designed to make every single player need to keep what they're earning. And obviously, if SPS is at a higher rate, you might have a little bit more dumping. But every single player right now, almost out there, their number one thing they're saying is, I need more.
Yeah.
I need more. I need more. So that's why the price is starting to go up, because pretty much nobody is selling right now, because nobody's like, I need 2 cents. And they're like, I need more earning power so that my cards that are, that are not in a good place to sell, I might as well just buy the SPS now. And I think this is something that a lot of the people who are currently in the game, if this is hard for you right now, I understand that's a bummer. but this might be your last chance to get into something that might do
Yeah.
like it might be the poster child of
Yeah.
how a game can succeed. It might mint more millionaires than any other project has
Yep.
minted in quite a long time. And it's because you don't need one thing to succeed. Yes, Splinterlands, because we're not, we haven't even talked about Invenium and the
I know.
arcade that they're
I
making. We haven't
know.
talked about the goals ecosystem. There's actually an APR on staking SPS that nobody pays attention to because you're earning GLX tokens as well.
Hmm.
And then there's all these different things going on. You have the Chibi Dinos game that is going to get going, and then that is and all of these games eventually that get going are going to be protecting the SPS price. We have a tower defense coming around the corner,
Hmm.
and the funny thing about tower defense is that SPS reward isn't so good right now, people are saying, but it's still probably going to be the highest paying tower defense crypto game in all of crypto.
Hmm.
And then it's going to be even more if we can make SPS go up, because
Hmm.
that pool doesn't get any smaller for those rewards. So all of these things get to work together, and all we have to do is get DEC to start spinning that wheel,
Hmm.
because like you had mentioned, there's no going back. Once that SPS is bought and burned to issue DEC, that SPS is gone. Now
And
more is coming into the marketplace, but eventually over time, if you have enough games and enough products and enough liquidity
yeah.
pools and enough places that need DEC, and we are buying up that much of it to get into these areas and stake into these things, because like a lot of people right now who are doing their calculations, like even myself, I originally thought I need about 7 million DEC to stake my cards to all of my land, and I have about 6 million today. So I'm
Mm.
a little bit short, but I've been working on it. But then Matt says there's going to be 50 resources eventually,
Yeah.
and that you're going to have to stake into the liquidity pools to earn some of those resources. So it's like you're going to have to be a liquidity provider to even earn some of the resources within the game, because he mentioned that some of them are going to come from that. And that's how he gets to 50. It's not only do you have to get like wood and then be able to turn it into planks and be able to turn it into something else, you're also going to have to earn some special reward for supplying wood and DEC
Yeah.
liquidity.
Yeah.
So and then all of those items are going to be able to be needed by all of us.
Hmm.
Right. So I want, no matter what my land can produce, I need to make a building. I need to buy this, and this. So I go to those liquidity pools and I buy. So what does that mean? That means people will want to provide liquidity, because if it's an active land game where we're all constantly trading these assets back and forth, I produce a lot of stone because I have a lot of desert. So I'm selling stone and I'm buying wood because I'm a desert. I can't grow any wood. So I'm doing that every single day, harvesting stone, selling it, buying, sell every day. Massive amounts of people. That is great rewards within a liquidity pool for recess providers, on top of the fact that he's going to have a resource that you earn for providing liquidity that you then get to sell if you're a liquidity provider. This is why when he came out and said we're going to have 50 resources in Land 2.0, you were like, I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, if think about it, if like a kind of small liquidity pool, DEC DAI has $300,000 in it.
Yeah.
So even if you had $100,000 put into each one of those liquidity pools, and that's only 50,000 DEC in each liquidity pool, I had to bring up a calculator not to mess this math up. But when you have a 50 times a 50, and one of those at 50K, you're talking like 2.5 trillion DEC, I think.
Wow.
And that's trillion. We only have a few billion.
Yeah. I mean, talking scope, you talked in your video, you mentioned how there's 4.75 billion or something like that. And then you gave it a US dollar number that I haven't really wrapped my head around before. That makes it around 5 million. If you like think about it from a peg perspective, 5 million US dollars is like what it would cost to buy. And now not all DEC is even available. Some of it's tied up in, wallets with the team, and it just simply isn't truly available. But when we talk about this 4.75 billion available, like $5 million is actually not that much money. And you talked about in your video, whales play whale games with some of those other tokens. And if we think about, some big wallets, and you talked about your growing viewership on Twitter and stuff, and like some of these ETH people, man, I think to myself, and you just mentioned $50,000 here, $50,000 there. Those are not big numbers to some people in this space. And the DEC just starts to disappear so quickly. The DEC that would be needed to be invested in some of these pools to see these 15, 12, 20, 40% returns on some of these pools. And only $5 million of it, like, and that's pushing and shoving to get what you need to be in this as an investor in one of these pools, because that's all you care about. But then there's us struggling to clawing and scratching to get what we need, because you just said you need 7 million for your 200 plots, and you need another million before you're done. And then also there's your liquidity pools for your own personal use. Forget about all the extra, like, the cards you want to buy, the rentals you want to, acquire, because they're bought and sold in DC, maybe the guild upgrades if you didn't participate in the Great Burning, etc. And it's interesting to note to me, like, when we talk about 15% liquidity pool returns, and yes, that would go down as that number grew, the dollars invested. But man, we even look at how again, if you could be convinced, if one could listen to this and say to themselves, okay, active community, product backed stable coin, I get to hold USDC, and I'm willing to do that. The DEC token looks like it's got strong enough tokenomics that I think it's probably going to stay stable. It starts to make sense to me, at least, that you get to a place where you're not only talking about a 15% APR on DEC DAI, you're talking about like a 20% appreciation on your DEC because of the return to peg that seems to me to be, and maybe somebody from an outside perspective won't share this opinion, but to me, that's like a lock. In my mind, we're going back to peg. And I think the more DEC I can hold, the more 20% gain I'm going to get. And now I'm starting to think, because of everything you're sharing with me, and I never really properly understood liquidity pools. This has very much helped. But man, percentage on percentage on percentage. And to me, and this is totally, everyone hearing this, like, take it with a grain of salt, but to me, it feels like a lock, return to peg, plus LP bonuses. And on a product that I just see so much usefulness and sync around, like we talked about land and guild buildings and these liquidity pools and the 50 new liquidity pools, it just feels like such a crazy special moment. And the, like you alluded to earlier, the biggest problem is really, are we going to get to a place where appreciation gets so wild we need to rethink how these rewards work, either in game or with the staking requirements on SPS, because we're starting to burn too much of it, because we need more DC, because we've created so many sinks. Wow, what a crazy positive problem to be looking at right now.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. When you start to wrap your mind around what Matt has created here, when you really start to look at it, not just from a game, because like a lot of people will stare at the game, and they won't realize Matt said, no, we got to get the tokenomics right. We have to get the tokenomics right first. The tokenomics need to be right before the game, and a lot of people, they're upset with that, and it's because they're playing the game. And they're not in the DeFi side of this. I've been using these liquidity pools for years. It's been some of my greatest wins in crypto. And it's made them exponentially better. How did I get so much money to be able to put $30,000 into Chaos Legion packs without putting $1 into crypto, guys? It was from the DEC Hive liquidity pool. Do you know how much Hive I earned when DEC went up 10x? And I had like 2 million DEC paired up with Hive in a liquidity pool, and all of a sudden I got 10 times more Hive than I should have, because DEC went on like the wildest ride ever. And it's these are the kind of things that, like, this is why I've been able to free roll the game, why I can just play the game, enjoy the game, and I'm able to just sit here and be like, you know what? I'm not like super psyched. I mean, Splinterlands is a fun game. I'm a TCG player. I like the thing, but it's not something that, it's a TCG game. It's never going to be Fortnite. It's never going to be, Call of Duty or any of those types of things with those types of crowds. But liquidity pools Okay. The very silly liquidity bulls have got hundreds of thousands to millions of users in them on projects called Goose Finance or just really weird ones when we were in a bull market and percentages started getting wild. And there Matt built all of that into this system. You have to remember that, like, well, most of us are not because we're hive heads. Matt is also an ETH head. He has a Bored Ape. He has some of those top PFPs. He has connections inside those mega whales, those people who spend 60 ETH on an NFT. You got to think about that, dude. They spend 60 Ethereum. That's 120 grand on a PFP.
Wow.
Okay, so you get one of those guys to come over, they could be Matt's friend and go, whoa, I see you finally got your whole thing working out. Yeah, okay, I'll put 100K into that liquidity pool. That's nothing to me. I dropped that on an NFT on Tuesday when I feel like it. These guys are on another level of crypto compared to the guys that are currently here. And that's the guys who we want to start to poke and get them to pay attention to us over here. Hey, I heard you like 20% on Luna. I heard you made a killing. Oh, I know you like yield. Come and check out these farms. Come check out this ecosystem. And a couple of those guys come in and they buy up that much DEC to put into one of our liquidity pools, and they help restore our peg. And that money just sits there earning them a return, and they're not playing the game. So they might be downward sales pressure on SPS, but that's where we got them to dip their toe into the Deegan liquidity pool. Now you have to get them to start looking into, well, wait, what's this SPS rental system? Wait, I can earn an asset that I can earn an additional yield on? Well, maybe I won't be downward sales pressure then. Maybe I'll be compounding my earnings, because a lot of these guys will keep rolling. They'll keep rolling those dice until they crap out sometimes. And if our ecosystem can keep giving you lots of different options, because think about it, when you earn SPS, you're going to have it in the game. You're going to be on the page. There's going to be a stake option paying something like 20%. There's also going to be a lending market. The lending market is actually kind of weak, but it's an additional percentage on top of that percentage. So it's stake it for 20, rent it to you for another 5. That's just a guesstimation. I don't know what it's really at right now, but you won't see the real numbers for what that can possibly be until SPS starts to be a big earning number. Because if you're earning $2 a win playing Splinterlands, well, the rental market's going to go up on everything, right? I mean, all of a sudden, all these people are going to be coming in here going, whoa, 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 I want to earn $40 a day playing Splinterlands.
I know.
And this is why, this is why when they say DEC is the key, getting it back to peg and starting the flywheel, and the fact that we have a chance. Like, if we can get a couple people to pay attention with big wallets, imagine if we hit, and this is kind of why I like the Bulldog proposal, and I really think we need a new proposal to maybe do half of that money into DEC for the DAO.
Me too.
It was just a little too much when we asked for all of it, because if we hit the flywheel before land comes out, right before, that means all that buying pressure of people trying to get their land game rolling, all that people going, wow, only 20% went live, oh my god, look at those SPS rewards, and then buy DEC, I need to stake more, buy, because I've been buying it slowly with rewards that I earned on Hive, with rewards I earn in the game, with rewards I earn on a couple farms I'm still in here and there. But I'm capable to put in $3,000-$4,000 if I had to, and just buy the rest that I need to really deploy my land. And if I have my land half deployed or 70% deployed, and I'm earning incredible rewards, I'm going to be incentivized to roll out the rest of my land. And with surfing, if you're somebody with means, you'd be incentivized to just as much money as you could to get into the land game, because you don't even have to own anymore to come and play this. So it's an incredible thing if we can get closer. And I know DEC's kind of took a little bit of a dip because people are selling it to get SPS right now. And I think that's just a reality that some people went, crap, I need SPS now, so I'm going to sell the DEC and I can get it later. this is why, we're in a very unique opportunity to get into these liquidity pools if you have money somewhere else. Because you're right, buying DEC at 20% under peg and putting it into a pool, that means that when DEC gets back to peg, you'll get an extra about 15% gain. You don't earn the full 20% move because of impermanent loss.
Sure.
But you'll be earning a return on an amount of money that you put in, and then you'll probably see that amount of money grow. And if you put it in against SPS, if you are willing to be that brave, the DEC SPS one is paying in like the 27%. Then you have a chance to watch that pool just go up and away. It's kind of funny because as DEC goes into peg, you'll actually earn more SPS, but then when SPS starts to go up because of the flywheel, you'll earn more DEC. And like that's kind of what happened to me recently. I was pretty big into that DEC SPS liquidity pool with a couple million DEC paired up to like 100k SPS. Well, my 100k SPS went down to 70%, but now that 1 million DEC or like 1 point whatever is at like 2.2 million DEC.
Wow.
So I can pull that DEC out now, and I've thought about doing it, but I'm like, I still don't know what Dayland is coming. People might, until I see DEC start to run, I'm going to leave that in there. But that's because I need DEC. I don't need that 15% gain. I need those actual, DEC tokens to stake on the land. So it's a kind of crazy situation playing in all of this. And there's just like, you can talk nonstop just about the liquidity pools, about the different pairs that are going to be up there, the fact that this page is eventually going to be 60 different pools that you can go into. And pretty soon the grain DEC is going to go live, so is
time crystals,
the crystals. Time crystals DEC is going to go live, so grain and time crystals. I don't think research, right? You can't buy and sell research, I don't think.
I haven't heard, but okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing we're going to be earning that I don't think becomes a sale. And the other thing is, and this was a comment I have to give credit to Darkest Night for making. When land goes active, there's a better chance that the people earning it will be the people who aren't going to dump it. Because it's going to be the people who are more invested into the game, who actually have the money and the time to put into their land. And if their rewards go up by a 2 to 3x because not everybody else is playing the land, there's a better chance that they're going to hold on to it, because those are the guys who are bigger believers in this whole game. And in fact, there are guys who held land possibly for like 2 years. I don't see them becoming massive SPS sellers right before the flywheel is going to go.
No.
So that actually, land could literally, just by going live, take some more sellers out of the market, helping SPS just inch up. I feel like it's going to inch up over the next couple months, maybe to about 5 to 10 cents all by itself because of SPS staking, because of land going live. And then eventually when the flywheel starts to hit, that's when it's going to get kind of silly. And it's going to get silly at times where you don't even understand what happens, because if things are going right and we've inched up to about 5-7 cents and people are excited about the earnings, and a whale decides to whale in, and they come in and they buy 200,000 or 300,000 DEC off the different marketplaces, and the arbitrage bots arbitrage a ton of SPS out of the ecosystem, because that's what it's going to be. It's just nobody is going to have to sell their SPS. When there's a big enough profit in those DEC pools, a bot is just going to take that. And they're going to take it and take it and take it and take it. And that's why these things can just go wild overnight.
So slow down on that for a moment. I think I'm tracking with you, but you're saying like a big whale comes along. He says, I get it now. I see what's in front of me. I'm willing to put 200,000 into DEC. They come to the market, they move the market upward on DEC, and then immediately you're saying bots, they recognize that arbitrage opportunity, they burn the SPS to acquire new DEC, and thus driving this very frantic upward march for SPS prices. Am I tracking correctly on what you're saying there?
Yeah, because basically what ends up happening, because all of the big DEC dumps that you can buy it in, it's technically within liquidity pools, except for a very small spot market on Tribal Dex, right? But even Tribal Dex has a liquidity pool option. So a big enough whale who's going to just come in and go like, maybe 200,000 is a bit big, but let's say they're just going to go like, I'm going to buy 20,000. And so they're going to go to that pool and they're going to buy $20,000 worth of DEC, and it's going to push the price up to like 1.3 cents. And then some bot who's watching this is going to buy up enough SPS to burn it into DEC to dump it to gain that 3 cents profit.
Immediately.
You know, it's a lot more than just 3 cents though, because it's a liquidity pool. So you got to push it down 3 cents, which is going to be a decent amount of selling. So somebody's going to arbitrage that. Now, could you know? I'm pretty sure these bots are already created, but if they're not, they'll be created quick. Because if me and you get to arbitrage it, that would be hilarious, because then it will be things where it gets driven up to like 1.7 cents before one of us goes like, all right, I'll burn some of my SPS to gain that, like, because, you know, we'll want a bigger gain.
Yes.
But a bot won't care about the gain, because they'll be sitting there in a stable coin going, okay, DEC went over peg, buy SPS, burn SPS, mint DEC, sell DEC, I have more stable coins now.
Yeah.
And they'll just follow, you know, that's what that bot will do. And they'll do it within a few fractions of a second.
Yes.
But so eventually, once you start to see these, and that's why they can do it at like a 2% gain or a 3% gain, because they'll just do it all day. And so DEC will constantly be at like 99 cents, and then it'll get bought up to 102. It'll be arbitraged back down, bought up to 102. And one of the crazy things about this, once that bot is there, I can make a bot to make gains on it too by buying it at like 98 cents, pushing it to 101, and then selling it back and down. Like you can have other people start to like try to make money off of that bot, knowing that if they push the price up, he'll buy some SPS and bump my other bag.
Wow.
So, you know, there's some very interesting stuff that can start. And the question was, could we get DEC to peg? And it was a question for a while. It was, because it didn't look like land was going to come out. We had 10 billion DEC to get through. We were down in the dumps. We didn't have. We got into a situation where, because of the downturn in the market, they didn't want to launch another pack.
Yep.
And because they didn't want to launch the other pack, there wasn't a real product backing it. But
True.
now we have at least a pack backing it again, because there's not enough in the game yet backing it outside of the packs. There is in guild buildings, but that's not enough. When you have land buildings, that's a lot better, because then you have another asset within the game that people need to buy a lot of DEC for. We don't know how much a refinery is going to cost. We don't know how much DEC we're going to have to dump in a refinery to jump it up into another level. We don't know how much storage buildings are going to cost. The one thing that I've noticed is my land is not nearly as expensive as the things I'm going to be putting into the land, because we bought those things way back in the day for like $20 a land. We need to stake $50 worth of DEC theoretically to stake 5 monsters that are theoretically also worth, I don't know, at least $100 probably. Because the max, that would be 5 max level monsters. Maybe if they're all common, it would be a little bit less, but nonetheless, you're staking somewhere between probably $60 and $100 into that land plot. And then on top of that, you're going to have to buy buildings that are going to cost probably similar to what you see in the guild buildings, where a level 1 is 10,000, then 20, then 30, then 40,000. And then all of those things are going to be a whole nother game and ecosystem. And because DEC is a stable coin, if I have to go buy 20,000 to upgrade to the next building, I'm just going to work on getting my money together to go buy that 20,000 DEC, and I'm going to put it straight into that building. And that building's probably going to be a burn similar to the guild buildings. Originally, that was a straight burn. So I'm guessing that the land building, maybe they'll do something cool and do like a land building power that, but I doubt it, that you could like move around from one building to another. My guess is it'll just be a DEC burn. And so we're gonna, when that's in the game, and then Rift Watchers is out, maybe the mini set is out, maybe the economy is recovered enough to where Rebellion comes out, then there is an abundance of products within the ecosystem being backed up by DEC. And on top of that, if we can get one other game to launch that allows you to buy their tokens with DEC, then that just adds to the amount of products that are backing this coin. And so that's where things get really, really, really interesting. The problem is that the two games that we've got so far in the Goals ecosystem are not. So Goals does have its own credits. They don't do DEC for their items, and Primal Hoops has their own Hoops token. I think those were more because of the partnership with the Players Association, and Primal Hoop was kind of a proof of concept. So they made some concessions to them, and they want to get that game in and working and prove that when they build the secondary NFT marketplace on Hive, those are what might be for DEC.
Yeah.
And nobody's really talked about that yet because there has been some kind of roadblock there, and the fact that Aggie wouldn't elaborate it on the last town hall when asked about it, he said, no, it's not our fault that things are delayed, but I'm not going to get into what's really going on. That's a little concerning because that game is still not live, and it was supposed to be live about a month ago. You can play a demo, but you can't earn tokens in it yet.
Yeah, I tried it.
I have no idea why. But still, if that game can get going and they can make a secondary market where you can buy sneakers and jerseys for your dinosaur that you play the basketball game with, and you can buy those with DEC.
Yeah.
If that's what they actually facilitate, they'll probably have another form of payment. But if you can buy them with DEC, which is theoretically what they're supposed to be doing on these games that they host, is integrating our tokens as a payment rail into their game, then it's just gonna make the coin look very, very healthy. And the other thing that's going to be very good, if I continue my videos for these, more investor people, imagine, if we get DEC to my next one, I really want to do is like DEC at 3 cents, because then I can be like, I told you these X's are coming. We're one double up in, you only have to double up something how many times to make $1 million? I'll have to look up that number, but it's not that many.
It's not. It's really not.
So it's gonna be like, you missed the first one. Are you gonna miss the next one? Are you gonna miss the one after that? Because this project is still going and it's ramping up. And if I can at least show a flat line for DEC, or if it can turn around, like I really don't want to see it go any lower than say like 79 cents. 7.9.
Yeah. I think that proposal would be key. I think DEC spiked to like 9.5 or whatever when Bulldog put forward that DAO buy DEC proposal, and then when that looked like it was going to fail, that to me reads as one of the main contributors for why DEC got almost a peg and then fell back. So I think you're right. That proposal is so key to setting the stage for when LAN launches, that we aren't even talking about getting the flywheel going. It's like it's ready already because we've created a scenario with the DAO money. Because I see I don't want contingencies on contingencies we're talking like a couple $100,000 or something. I think it was $500,000 in stable coins. Like, you're right. Maybe we rephrase it and we say, look, $100,000, $50,000, half the money. I don't know, some smaller number to appease the people who were a no on that first pass. But I mean, man, with the vision of everything you're laying out here, and more, and we didn't really even talk in this video about how strong an argument there is from just the community driven desire to hold SPS. We want it, and we don't have enough of it, and we're buying more of it. We, like the people who are serious about Splinterlands, and you add that to the flavor or the picture of this kind of like marketing perspective sales pitch, which is what I'm seeing this as. It's like, to viewers outside of Splinterlands, do you see what you're missing? And you're painting this like really powerful picture, in my opinion, Steve. So dude, I can't wait to see some more of those videos coming from you. It's already well over an hour, and I know it's getting late. Dude, seriously though, there's so much here. I feel like we could just keep going, and I would love that. But I'm tired, and I know it's later for you too. So we should wrap there. But is there, maybe I'll give you if you want to say one more thing, if there's one more, if there's an element that you really think we need to hammer home, please go for it. Otherwise, if you want to just shout out the channel or whatever, however you want to close, I'm happy to give you that space.
Yeah, guys, I'll just let you know that I am doing a weekly show now on Monday nights with Baby Omega from Splinterlands TV. We've started to book a couple pretty cool people. We hope to continue to grow that show, and one night maybe Dwayne can come on and talk to us the same way we did tonight for an hour or two. And so hopefully you can continue to support my channel on that show, because growing our subscriptions and growing our followers, anybody who wants to look me up on Twitter, there's a link on my YouTube to that, and you follow me, you know, now is the time to spread the word of the more quality content you find. I'm not going to say you need to share my video on my rewards that's coming up, because that wasn't super quality. But when we do these really good discussions about why outside money might be able to come into this game, we want to spread that word out there, because it doesn't take a lot of big investors to look into this ecosystem and really say, you know what, I see a chance to bankroll this for 2.5 years or so, while the DEC, while the SPS is still, planned to being issued to us.
Mm-hmm.
After that, there's, going to be some questions for what we're going to do with the DAO to keep it going. But, we have a solid window right now. However many months are left in the original SPS white paper. I think it's a little under 3 years now, or is it still over? I'd have to double check.
I don't know either, but yeah, we got window.
Yeah, and then if you're here and you feel like some of the stuff that has happened in this game has hurt you, understand that a lot of us who have a vision for the future, we don't see SPS as a 2-cent coin. We see it as a multiple dollar coin. So even if you are playing today, earning 2x rewards or 3x rewards compared to what you were earning before, you're still earning rewards. You're still earning SPS that could one day be a $2 to $3 to $4 token. And if we get a crazy flywheel one, go look at the Luna Classic chart. It went to $100 because the flywheel completely broke and people needed a ton of DEC, like a ton. And they just came in and they just bought it because of the returns they could get on it. And the returns were not even that crazy. So now you're talking about the same kind of situation. We have that same mechanic in our game without the flaws that they had in their project.
Dude,
wow. Could you imagine a world where SPS is like $100 because the flywheel completely breaks and people are going to have walked away from this game because they were only earning 0.4 SPS per battle, and that was $40?
Yes, dude, that is wild. Yeah.
So don't give up. It's not the time to run away. Let land come out. Let the flywheel start. Let us see if we can get those Deegan investors into these liquidity pools and see where this stuff goes. Because at least then, if you walk away, you're going to walk away with a big check, as opposed to walking away now just because you're angry.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah, man. And the thing about it is, you've already been here. You've already known it. And man, rewards accumulate in this the Splinterlands is all. The sales pitch for me has always been, this game rewards you for your time and attention, and those rewards are trivial in nature, and they accumulate and they stack up, and then they snowball because they get the number of rewards you've accumulated grow, and then the value of those rewards can theoretically grow. And you might, as a viewer, think, no way, it's never going up again. Okay, but what about building a bag for nothing more than your time and attention, essentially? Like, largely, if you have your card assets, you already have some SPS because you've earned it through play, you're going to get, like you say, 1 times, 2 times, like you can get some multipliers at not very much, for not very much value and investment, and then just quietly let that thing happen in the background and just wait and see. This game, I heard Walking Keys and Gank the other day talking about how Splinterlands is in beta. Like, this is not the fullness of what this game will be. And you talked about it tonight, Steve. You talked about like some of these different angles, GLX and tower defense and land being fully realized. And and even Chibi Dinos and then Illuvium or Invenium, and all the elements the intertwining of the economies that could happen. We are at such an early stage in what I consider to be a blockchain video game revolution. And And I'm saying, if you can find joy, just fun, just forget about the reward, but you can just have some fun playing the game, the rewards might be meaningful over a long enough time horizon. And then to that other viewer, like you've been really hammering home, man, there's also that excited community that's enjoying the space, and you can piggyback in as an investor through those liquidity pools like you're alluding to, Steve. And man, opportunity, I think that is pretty, I'm now wondering how I could play that angle. And I'm thinking, is there some money in the couch cushions? Because dude, this is eye-opening to think some of these things through the way you've been able to articulate. So Steve, thank you, man. Very great stuff. Thanks for hopping on. And yeah, I'd love to come hang out with you and Baby Omega. It was fun meeting him too at Splinterfest, and I can't wait for Splinterfest 2.0 whenever we get around to that. Hopefully we'll be able to sit down and have another burger and beer and enjoy another conversation like we did in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. As you can tell, I love talking this stuff because we went longer than I meant to. But it's amazing, and if you can, once you see it and you step out from the outside of the game and you just step out and you see the entire ecosystem that's being built, you might feel like you were late to Splinterlands, the game, but you're not late to Splinterlands, the company and the game publisher that they're becoming.
Yeah, man, that's exactly right. Great way to end it. Steve, I'm going to close it out there. But guys, thanks so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day, guys. Check out Steve's channel. Follow him on Twitter. And look for them on Twitch, right? The Splinterlands TV. Is that you and Baby Omega?
No, it's on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
We're doing a YouTube show.
On what?
So it's Monday nights. We go live at 8. Ideally, we're supposed to be after Gank and Walking Keys show is what we planned on doing. They've been going late lately, so we've overlapped a little, but that's our show. So we'll be live tomorrow night. I think it's just the two of us tomorrow night, but sometimes he brings a surprise guest. Baby Omega's working hard in the background. That's how we got Nate onto the show. I found out 15 minutes before the show started that Nate was coming on. I was like, thanks, man. You didn't even tell me. It was a funny little story. That's amazing. And I look forward to checking that out. I'm definitely going to watch that. And when I'm able, I would love to come visit with you guys and just talk Splinterlands and talk whatever's on. So let's make that happen. But guys, check out Steve's channel. Make sure you like and subscribe over there, and check out the Twitter too, because that's really, really exciting to see. And if those ideas can reach that other audience, the Ethereum heads and the guys who are into liquidity pools, but are maybe gonna, because of this voice, be just looking at our game in a new, fresh way. Let's lift up that voice. Let's share those sorts of tweets so that we can expand that audience. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Steve. Bye for now, guys.